Well, Rich here, and welcome back to the channel, my fellow drifting maniacs. So everybody is staying safe and their families are in good health out there. It is time for another weekday workshop video. Got quite a few repairs to do, a couple of mods to do along the way. Anyway, let me get straight down to it. First of all, we've got the ZD Racing 9020, which only needs a minor repair to the front suspension arm, fingers crossed. And then it's onto my Traxxas X-Maxx, which is in need of a new rear suspension arm because the current one's a bit wobbly, and a new spur gear and a new pinion as well. Fingers crossed that won't take too long to sort out either. And next up we have the Arrma Felony. This has now got the 8S 160 amp Spectrum ESC in here. You're thinking, well Rich, that shouldn't have a problem, but it has a little bit of a cogging issue which I had with it the other day, but we're going to try some different batteries in, see if the cogging issue goes away. So fingers crossed that will also be a minor problem to sort out. And lastly, we'll come on to what I affectionately refer to as the absolute beast, well, with a few child-friendly words missed out of the title. That's because I have got two sets of the wide rear Arrma Felony tyres, and let's see if we can fit into the beast, and we can do a few full-on acceleration runs outside in the yard. See how much of a drag racing monster we can really make this thing into. Well, first up we have the ZD Racing 9020. I would say hand on heart, this is probably one of the best buggies out there for under $350. Metal chassis, metal just about everything on it, including most of the drivetrain. Problem we have got is yours truly stuffed it into a jump at Shell Sands and snapped the front suspension arm, bent the steering pin on there, but everything else looks to be intact. So that should be a fairly straightforward repair. Okay, well as ever on this channel, I show you the rough with the smooth. On a, you just think, oh, replace the arm, replace the pin there. The back end of the pin was broken in there, so I couldn't simply just take the front apart, swap the arm over. I've had to completely disassemble the front of the car in order to get access to the back of that screw. Thankfully, it's poking out of there, so if you got pliers on the back of that and take it out. Okay, well that's my ZD Racing 9020, all back together again. Looks fairly simple, like you've just got the 8 screws to undo underneath there. A little bit more complex than that. You have to remove this top plate as well and then try and balance that drive shaft between the front and the rear while sliding the whole thing together. Not a job I would wish to do again in a hurry, so I'm a bit more careful when we take this out for a bash tomorrow. Just remember guys, if you like what you see today, don't forget to subscribe. And here's a quick clip of the ZD Racing 9020 back to its best shot this morning down a sunny but very, very empty Shell Sands. Absolutely epic section with a couple of new friends that I met down there. Okay, so moving straight on to the Xmaxx, which I'm also taking out for a bash tomorrow. You will see this rear drive shaft completely bent. No idea how that happened. Nothing else bust on it at all. Just that drive shaft bent, but I've got a new one, so let's fit that. Okay, now it looks to be a fairly simplistic job to remove the rear drive shaft on there. Just loosen the A-arm on there, leave the drive shaft forwards and disconnect that. And then we've got this little wire clip around here. And actually, it went better than I thought. That clip came off fairly easily. I've just been on a fairly tough time of it. Now this plastic collar, I was going to say, was that going to fight me? Now all being well, with a little tap of the hammer, that should come out and we'll be able to get access to the CVD joint. Okay, well literally having tapped out the centre of the wheel with the hammer, now hex driver, push this pin out, which fingers crossed will come out nicely. Comes out of there, one very bent drive shaft, one much straighter one, and I would say before I put the new one in, I need to remove this little pin from the old drive shaft. Okay, when it comes to changing the spur and the pinion over, relatively simple. 2 screws to remove the cover, then 4 to remove this little piece of plastic here, which gives you access to remove the spur, but the motor I've got to undo a couple of screws from underneath. Okay, well with those 4 screws undone, you would think we'd just slide the spur gear out, but we need to loosen the motor, remove that first. Okay, 4 screws undone underneath, and the motor simply slides out, enabling me to change the pinion because I lost the tooth off of that. And then the spur simply lifts out because we lost several teeth off the spur. Okay, new spur on, couple of spots of grease on the gears, plastic case back on. Okay, new pinion on, Loctite on there. All being well, this slides down into place easily, although everything has fought every last inch of the way today to be going in there quite nicely. Now I'm going to turn the car over, fit those 4 screws back in. Okay, all 4 motor screws back in place, 2 on the gearbox on there, so the Xmaxx is ready to roll again in anger tomorrow down at Shell Sands. So we're going to be seeing both the ZD Racing 9020 and the 8S X-Maxx in action tomorrow So watch out for that video coming up. Straight on to the Arrma Felony. Love of my life, one of the most fantastic cars I've ever driven out there, particularly with its new Traxxas ESC and power plant. And the rear tyres are finally come in. I've got 3 brand new sets of rears ready for use on the car. So this weekend we're going to go absolutely hoonigan-tastic with the Arrma Felony. So you know what to do if you don't want to miss those videos. But when I took it out at the weekend, with its new ESC, which had been running fine around the yard, got the speed gearing on there, thought nail it Richie boy on 6S, and the thing went about 2 yards forwards and just started cogging. Wasn't going anywhere on there. I think it was the battery pack that was the issue, because when I got it home, although it was a fully charged pack, it was just giving cell error on the battery charger, so there's something clearly wrong with the pack. Okay, now I was going to show you the major problem with the Arrma Felony, which was it was just like cogging like crazy as it was doing the other Saturday. But I fit 2 fully charged 4S packs in there, although the 6S pack I took out still had 60% charge in there, so it shouldn't have had any LVC issues on there, but fingers crossed this works alright. I think I can safely say, whatever the fault was on this car, I've cured it. Goodness help those rear tyres come Sunday with fog city. And for the last bit of tonight's video, we are going to see if the new Arrma Felony rear tyres, which I bought 2 sets of, will fit to the Infraction. I guess they're going to fail at the front, potentially at the rear as well. Let's get the body off, wheels on, body back on. Let's see just how much they do or don't fail. What we need to do to get them to fit. Okay, well after all this waiting around, they may well not fit, as they're approximately a centimetre bigger than the existing Infraction tyres. And bear in mind these are worn down quite a little bit on there, so they're probably normal size, maybe about 5mm higher on here. But I still think it's going to be a bit of a squeeze. And in terms of extra diameter on there, they're a full centimetre wider than the existing Infraction rears. But if I can fit all 4 of these on here, this thing is going to be the drag car to beat out there, people. Okay, well the offset of the wheels is not looking bad, but the one blindingly obvious thing that is going to need altering is me to get the Dremel and cut down each part of the front splitter on this side in order to enable to get the wheels to turn, because the minute they try and turn, they're going to catch on this, which is not going to end well for my new tyres. If in doubt, Dremel it out. Should now have enough space for the wheels to turn, fingers crossed, without fouling on this front splitter. But let's power the car up. Oh, excuse the noise, people, but this is running 6 fans, but that steering is now not going to collide with the edges of the front splitter at all. Step 1 complete. Now for the body. Oh man, I like to say they fit well, but obviously they're a little bit tight on here. Although I could put the body clips through now and the tyres would still run on here, we've got minimal clearance on here. I'm going to need to cut back this outer edge of the bodywork, I believe, as a minimum on there, in order that they're not going to foul too much. A lot of whether they foul is going to be down to your suspension setup. If you've got it really loose, then they're going to scrape on the inner fenders, whatever. If you've got it really tight and the springs are fairly stiff, as they are on this car, then it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But the last thing we want is this bit of the bodywork slicing in to the top of that tyre on there. The flat bit of the bodywork, we can take the odd touch around on there, and I can always raise the ride height a little bit on there, as this thing is slammed to the floor at the front, so much so the splitter scrapes on the ground under braking. So let me get to work. Well people, by the time I'm shooting this, it's getting quite late on at night. Got the Arrma Felony tyres on the Infraction. I have a really good feeling about this, but I need to buy a new pair of body trimming scissors because mine have just disappeared into thin air, and I need those to make sure I do a really nice job just trimming out the bit I need around these wheels. But I have a feeling this thing at the weekend is going to be an absolute drag racing monster. And I've got my Power Hobby GNSS speed meter, which has a drag racing option on it, so we're going to be able to see just how fast this thing pulls to 132 feet or beyond. So if you don't want to miss that and any of the other upcoming videos of the cars that I've shown you today, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.